Chairman, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to call this meeting of Ocean Highway and Port Authority together for February 8th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day. We thank you for this great country that we live in. We pray now that you will give us wisdom and discernment as we make decisions for the Port of Fernandina. We ask that you watch over our first responders and servicemen and women and keep them safe. That's all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Cole.
Here.
Commissioner Nelson.
Here.
Chairperson Hill.
Here.
I'm sorry, Vice Chairperson Hill. Chairman Fullwood.
Present.
Commissioner Taylor is out of town.
I will start off with comments from the audience. I have first up Chip Ross. Who's come to the podium. Please identify yourself, name and address when you come to the podium.
My name is Chip Ross. I live at 210 North 3rd Street, Fernandina Beach, Florida. I've put written comments in there. So I'm going to just put it down to two things. Number one, when I look at this port master plan, I went through the master plan process the last time. You can't tell where you're going to be in 5 years. You haven't told this community what it is you want, and what this place is going to look like 5 years from now, and what it is you want to do here. That's number one. Number two, the cruise ships. I've talked to the head of the TBC. They're opposed to cruise ships. Talked to multiple merchants downtown, restaurant owners. They're opposed to cruise ships. Talked to multiple neighbors. They're opposed to cruise ships. The only reason you report when a cruise ship comes in, you have to stop all port activities while that cruise ship is here. All of your income stops, and then it doesn't start until the cruise ship. The area you want to bring cruise ships into is a tiny little area, not accommodate all the transportation that would take people out of here. So you've heard all these arguments. The bottom line, so I won't be redundant. But the bottom line, the only reason you're doing cruise ships, in my opinion, is to fund Ocean Highway 4. It's not for the good of these people. It's not for the good of the county. It's not for the good of the city. It's so you can get money, so you can pay for port direct, and that's it. So I do not think that's the reason. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. I want to say that you have 2 minutes to make your comments. Tammy Coffey.
Yeah, I'm not sure the microphone is on. It's still
It's
on.
not, no, it doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
We can hear you.
Tammy Kosak, 322 North 3rd Street, Goal 7 under 1.3 of the master plan goals and objectives state that OPA will, quote, consider any negative externalities that its operations may have on its neighbors and will implement mitigative measures to eliminate or minimize those impacts. 7.1 says it will coordinate with the terminal operator to reduce port operational impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. The operator has stated at public meetings and in emails they want to be a good neighbor. At our stakeholder and other meetings, Chair Fullwood has said if the community doesn't want something, we'll take it out. and it's time. Our community, including citizens, businesses, and the TDC, has spoken loud and clear via public forums, through commission meetings, emails, press, and online forums, and showing up. No cruise ships, period, full stop. The questions and variables surrounding cruise ships far outweigh the promise of keeping this venture small. Exploring cruisers with simultaneous wishes to double the tonnage seem completely at odds with each other. Number two, no cement, fertilizer, or hazardous break bulk, period. The recent trial of break bulk and cement has been a disaster, from PR to residents calling emergency meetings to get the fine particulate dust clouds moving into their homes. Additionally, the efforts to tarp the fence to protect Alligator Creek and Retention Pond have proven unsuccessful. Where we once watched hundreds of wood store parents, egrets, and spoonbills land and roost for the night, the numbers in a single week have been reduced to the single digits. You know, our 23-day report is less than 2% of Savannah and less than 4% of Jacksport, and it's shoehorned at less than 50 feet from homes. This is much too close to residential to afford the more questionable products of cement and fertilizer and increased truck traffic. The mitigation efforts required to allay valid citizen concerns and keep workers, school children, residents, property, and the environment safe and properly protected would seem to far outweigh any upside for the operator or OPA. I cannot find how these commodities would benefit the citizens of Nassau, as stated in the mission and vision sections of the plan. It's time. You have said you want to have a good working relationship with the community. Remove these items from your master plan to show you truly understand the negative impact they will have on the community directly surrounding the port. I ask anyone in the audience, if you're in agreement, to please stand. Now is your chance, Opa, to show up.
Yeah, we'll stand.
Now is your chance, Opa, to show up and be true to your word. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Kirkland.
Thank you. I do want to
State
say,
your name and
oh,
address.
Margaret Kirkland, 1377 Plantation Point Drive. I'm speaking on behalf of Conserve Nassau. Conserve Nassau is a new nonprofit, which has just recently been formed. But we're not new people. We have been around under the auspices recently of the comp plan / LDC working group, and before that we were part of Amelia Tree Conservancy. So we have been around. We are highly concerned about the cement dust accident. That is a nightmare, and we would like to know what is being done to cancel any future arrival of that product or any presence of that product in the vicinity of this island. We're beginning to get photos from people from various parts of the island where we see this dust all over the place. It is harmful to your workers. It's harmful to those who live in the area. It's harmful to the trees and the understory plants. It interferes with their biological functions. It's harmful to fish and other wildlife. So it is really a bad thing. And we have to deal with it. We can't accept 8 shipments of this stuff and have more of this. That will destroy the economy of the city and the economy of the county. The county's economy, county's revenue comes mainly from tourism, and that's really, once this word gets out to the rest of the country, it will be the end of that. So,
Ma'am.
please. Thank you.
Mike Meadows.
My name is Mike Meadows. I live at 2601 D in El Rey. I'm not one of the immediate neighbors to the port. I live on the very south side of the city, but I'm just here to register my concerns about the cruise ships coming in. And like Commissioner Ross said, it is not a good fit for the city for these cruise ships. I've been cruising for years and years and years to see smaller cities like this that wind up with Commissioner Fullwood. Would you like to wait till you get off the phone?
I'm on the timer. Please continue, or otherwise you can have some.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
So anyways, we, I've seen small ports turn into where they have huge number of ships coming in. I think Nassau is one of them, years I've been in prison. One of my concerns is about the fertilizers. I was in the Coast Guard when I was a kid. It's been many years ago. But we had to watch, films on, one of them was about Texas City, Texas. Had a ship that blew up, flew there, and just about annihilated the city. I think it killed several thousand people. That's just 1947. It's a long time ago. But I think it's been a couple of years when we had a warehouse in Beirut that blew up with fertilizer products. Pretty much did the same thing. That's not a good fit for the city, and neither is the cement does. I might add. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's there?
Look there in 432 North Third Street. I live right next door to the port, 501 North Third Street. And I can attest to the fertilizer won't fit, I don't think, coming to and certainly that cement was a disaster. It covered my house and the whole neighborhood. If you can just look at some of those pictures and you can see what it was doing. With Big Newt, I worked all my life, we were always up front with the public. We would go out, whether we load rods or we start up, we would let the public know up front what we were doing, not after the fact. We would meet with the people that were concerned, and it wasn't always pleasant, but we let them know up front what we were doing. That ship showed up, parked out there, started unloading and spreading dust completely all over the place. Some people said that they didn't see any dust, but I've got a bag of Portland cement and a blower. I can recreate that for them if they want me to come over to the house, and I'll spray them, the dog in the house and the cars for them. Thank you.
Virtue.
Thank you. You know, I don't want cruise ships, but I'm not gonna talk about cruise ships. I don't think they had any value. That's all I have to say about cruise ships. My main purpose of talking is about cement dust and other potentially hazardous materials. I don't know if they're hazardous or not. I don't know what the port really intends to do in the future. But cement dust, depending on the size of the particle, the speed of the wind, travels about 700, at least 750 meters, and maybe 3 kilometers, which is almost 2 miles. So that would include within this area, the Amelia River, the marshes, Alligator Creek, Tiger Island, St. Michael Academy, the daycare across from St. Michael Academy, St. Michael Church, the Fernandina Beach Library, numerous restaurants, and the whole North Historic District, north of Center Street, and maybe even include Center Street. So my concern is, if I look at it from a risk and reward perspective, the risk is with the citizens of Nassau County, and the reward goes to the Port Nova And I don't, I don't really think that's right. The only thing I can think that the citizens of Nassau get is more trucks, more traffic. That's about it. They certainly don't get any money out of it. And that's all I really have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gary Clark.
Thank you. My name is Gary Klopp. I live at 310 Escambia Street, also beside Lowell and directly across from the port. I'm going to talk about tourism because maybe it's not sinking in. I don't know. In 2021, visitors to Amelia Island contributed $725,184,100 in direct spending, accounting for 28.9% of all retail spending in Nassau County. That's Nassau County, not just Amelia Island. That's almost 30% of your GDP. It's been a 171% increase in 11 years. From 2000 through 2021, and keep in mind, this includes COVID, by the way, visitors to Amelia Island increased from 755,400 to 1,397,400. That's an 85% increase. Amelia Island tourism provides 30% of all local and state taxes and 30% of Nassau County GDP. So if our tourism goes down, guess what? The GDP in all in Nassau County goes down. Tourism provides 14,925 jobs to Nassau County residents. Every 94 tourists or visitors creates one job in Nassau County. Not contract workers hired by the port that live outside of the county, right? Not truck drivers who aren't coming downtown, not port workers who aren't coming downtown. That is a 30.8% of employed persons in Nassau County, almost a third of all people in Nassau County hold jobs directly related to tourism. You're located with a 1.5 mile radius, the port is, of more than 500 homes, several schools, daycare centers, churches, businesses, outdoor restaurants, parks and green spaces, public marinas, along with visitors, residents, elderly, and children who will be exposed to the dangerous pollutants. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Francis Griffiths.
Good evening. My name is Francis Griffiths, and I live at 309 North Fifth Street, Virginia Beach, Florida. As I've said before, I've lived here a very long time. We've moved here on August 29th, 1976. I've enjoyed living here and I've enjoyed the amenities. We've watched the city grow. We've enjoyed having the tourists come down. I walk down there all the time. But what I'm very concerned about is this last spillage that you brought in with the cement. We don't know what other poisonous things are coming through our ports. And what's really upsetting is that there was no notification by the port to the neighborhood that this disaster was coming, or that it had even happened. We were not told, hey, you might want to stay in your homes if you have breathing problems. You might want to go ahead and make sure that you're not outside at any point. You might. So we never had that option because you were not good neighbors. You did not notify us of this disaster. As far as cruise ships, again, I think you're literally killing off a very important part of business, which is our regular tourists or day trippers, and that's all they're going to be. I just don't know what else to say. I really do not want to go ahead and be poisoned by the things that you bring into our port. Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck Hall.
Be the next show. Cockle, 315 Calhoun Street. You know, when I was in business as a younger man, now I'm retired, the last thing I ever wanted was some tree hugging person who had no interest in how I earned a living to tell me what I should do. I thought it was invasive. I thought it was, without a doubt, none of their stinking business. So I absolutely understand how the port might feel about all these people coming around after the fact and saying, oh, you're polluting our island, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. So I get that, I absolutely do. But I also want to suggest that this may be possibly the best moment that the port has experienced so far. And the port's been around a long time, but there's hope here, and that what the people are saying can be a good guide to the Port Authority for future sustainability. I hate that word, sustainability or viability of income, because these people are not going away. I mean, back in the day before, gosh, I guess in the last 10 years or so, before it wasn't anybody that would complain about much. But now there are so many people, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for the port to look and say, what are we really doing here? Is it about 2 bags of cement that burst? That's not a big deal. Is it about, maybe a truck that gets stuck in a lane overnight? That's not a big deal. But it's the possibility that the port is going to continue down that path. And I think that path is a dangerous one for the port. And I would just suggest if it comes across your radar, to look at this rather as an opportunity rather than a chastisement and a bunch of complainers, because nobody likes that. And so I appreciate your time, and carry on.
Thank you. Well, that's all the public comments. Is there anybody out there else that wanted to say something? Yeah, would you fill out a form, please? There's no. Okay. Come on up and talk, and we'll get a form for you later.
Hi, good evening. Paul Laurie, 2794 Longboat Drive, Fernandina Beach, Florida. I'm just going to take just a quick minute. I'm here as a person who uses the water a lot, maybe 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a day. And really all I ask is, as a resident and as a waterman, is a business or an entity or leadership that takes partnership in the stewardship of the health of our river. Because it's fragile. If you look at any city, island, country, state, whatever you want to call it out in the world, when they have an ecosystem that kind of bolsters visitors coming, everybody that lives in that community has a stake in that in some way or another. And if all of you don't use the water, that's okay, but your business uses the water. And I really hope deep from the bottom of my heart that you all find it somewhere, that there's a balance between the prosperity of your business of the port and the prosperity of our river, as long as the prosperity of our community. And thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to approach you. My name is Cockle. I live at 331 North 6th Street, downtown Fernandina. My wife and I had the pleasure of visiting St. Kitts about 2 weeks ago. And we went off on a tour that one of the local residents here lived there all his life. And as he drove us through the downtown, which is where all the cruise ships dock, he said, I remember as a young boy, what a wonderful time we had. There used to be restaurants here. There used to be shops here. It used to be clean. This was from his heart. It used to be clean. It used to be a wonderful place that residents on the island visited and tourists that stayed in the hotels visited until the cruise ships took over. Today, what we have is a bunch of trinket shops. That's all that's left. The restaurants left because nobody that lived there wanted to come downtown anymore. The tourists that stayed in the hotels did not want to come downtown anymore. The only thing was left was welcome to St. Kitts ashtrays and souvenirs. I ask you, do you think we want that for our town? We do not. And you're kidding yourself if you think that we aren't deeply concerned about that, because it will happen here. It will happen here. This is a small town. People love it here. I moved here 5 years ago because this was a place that offered us a great future. I don't want to see it destroyed. Friends of ours from Naples that visited Key West on a regular basis said the same thing. They don't go to Key West anymore. They said, why would you ever want to go to Key West when you have a great town like this? The cruise ships have killed it.
Thank you, Mr. Cockle.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's the end of the public comments. We're gonna move on with our meeting now. You're welcome to say if you like. All right, let's go to the minutes of our last meeting. Approval of minutes.
I'm sorry, I didn't, I'm late first. I have to sign something? No.
Hi, I'm Theresa Poyner. My address is 3967 First Avenue. I'm a business owner with my husband and family. We have 4 businesses in downtown Fernandina. I have run Cafe Caribou for 21 years. I started it. I've been running it every day of my last 21 years. We're definitely stakeholders in historic downtown. We obviously love it, and I adamantly opposed to cruise ships in our town. We definitely feel they'll change the character and in a very detrimental way. We're not serving the tourist that comes on a cruise ship is the transit person. They're getting off the ship. They might not even know where they are. They're gonna kind of zombie through town. And we're going to be disingenuous to our tourists that come here. They're invested tourists. They've been coming maybe for years, even for generations. They'll come and it will be congested with lots of other people. They'll say, well, I remember Fernandina when it was like this. And they're already saying that because it's changed a lot, but it's still, you know, there's change, there's good change, and there's not good change. And this particular proposal is just an ominous degradation of what we worked so hard to achieve in our quaint, unique, diversified little town. And I just, please, I hope you listen, I hope you take that into consideration. Like I said, my heart, my soul, my blood, sweat, and tears is downtown Fernandina. And this would make me incredibly sad. Anyway, thank you so very much for listening, and thank you for taking me as a late person. Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Approval of minutes for January 20th, 2023. Comments? Nothing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes for January 25th, 2023. Any comments about that? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried. Court accountant report, Pierre. I'm sorry. Let me get. Here, no, your report.
All right, so in your package is the monthly report for the treasurer's report. You have, so no unusual activity, we're waiting for the quarterly payment from the operator. So no income in January, and all we have is payroll pretty much. Coming up this month, obviously the audit report was, you have the final letter to sign tonight. I think Rosanna should have provided you with the letter of representation for the audit. So you'll sign that tonight, and then also we should have the final auditor's report for the fiscal year ended 9/30/2020. That should be available at our next meeting. So as soon as we have the final, I will circulate it to everyone. And it'll be available, should be at the next meeting. And obviously they're doing the peer review right now. The last part is the letter of representation that, as I said, Roseanne should have for you guys to sign. So I'll take that back and send that off to them. And then, like I said, obviously the bill for the second half of the audit will come to you, obviously, when they deliver the final report. So that'll come in the next couple of weeks. The other part you have is the first quarter financials are in your package. So you have the balance sheet and the income statement for the first quarter for October, October through December, the first quarter of the year. There's no unusual activity or anything going on. Obviously, we have our grant revenue and everything like that. So there's really nothing to point out of any kind of significance. So unless you have any questions, the reports in your package.
Any questions for Pierre? Thank you, Pierre. Board Attorney report.
Thank you, Chairman. My report is in the packet as well. It's pretty self-explanatory. We do have a hearing coming up on March 1st in the 3 cases that we saw pending. So I'm happy to talk to you about those one-on-one, given that they are active litigation. The other items are pretty brief and self-explanatory. Again, we do have a discussion on the agenda for the agreement with Nassau County regarding meeting space, so I can talk about that when we get there. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Patrick?
Chairman, before we proceed with the agenda, I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge all the people that came. I count 57 people, maybe less than that, who've come to the meeting. In my time as a port commissioner, I've never seen this many people from the public come to a meeting. And it's a great, God bless America. It's a great thing that we are elected and that we are responsible to you. And I personally feel, I feel the pain when you say you have heartache, when you love this community. I feel that same love, both personally and as your representative. And I take your words to heart. And I will do everything in my power to incorporate your concerns into my actions as part of this board. Obviously, there's 5 of us. And I can tell from the discussions we've had in past meetings that the other members of this board also are responsive when you come out. So well done. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to say I've been on board for a while, and we have had larger crowds. It was a time when Cole was trying to come in, the operator wanted to force some coal on us, and the public spoke out and we listened. And I guarantee we're listening now. Don't think we're not. And we're working on it. So give us time. I think you will like the outcome at the end, and we'll do the best we can. Okay? All right, we're all here. Board Executive Director reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize for not having a written report this week. Been a busy week.
Yeah.
So a few items I do want to report on. We did meet last evening with the city commission to update them on the master plan. And we'll Commissioner Hill and Chairman Ford were there. As I discussed then, this is still a work in progress. We've done it publicly tonight, as we do in 2 weeks. And I think that there'll be more detailed conversation and potential edits to the existing document. I ask each of you, as you review the document, as you review comments, etc., to suggest whatever changes you might want to see incorporated, that we can consider within the next week or so. So I can get with the planning team and evaluate, those things that we think are appropriate. Make changes to. We spent a lot of time this last week coordinating with the operator on the cement ship, and then on site with the DEP as they did their review, to ensure that the operator was putting in place the required best management practices that the agencies were looking for. And I was happy to see the responsiveness of the operator to those requests, which I think were a few above what they were already doing. The operator did substantial DMPs in advance of the ship. This was a trial vessel, and I'll let the operator report on that activity.
Chairman Fuller, can I ask questions, or do you want to speak to me?
Let's wait till we get finished with it. In anticipation of potential changes to the master plan as it relates particularly to cruise ships, we are working on a little more detailed operations plan with the operator. In the event that we want to look at alternative means to handle those vessels, and compared to the way they were handled in the past. So we're working with the operator on that. The dredging contract with Grants Diversified for the maintenance dredging will hopefully begin in the next couple of weeks. We'll be coordinating with the operator to make sure the berths are available and schedules are working. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks that will begin, and I believe it's only about a week. In addition to our own berth maintenance dredging, I did hear from the Army Corps of Engineers. They will begin their own maintenance dredging in the federal channel in May. They awarded that contract, and so we have some additional dredging into the federal channel beginning in May. We also submitted our essentially a catch-up quarterly report to MARAD on the MARAD grant. There's been a number of reports, as you may recall from our last financial audit, that identified that as a weakness. We did provide MARAD with an updated report that covered all the missing quarters, and we'll be maintaining that schedule going forward. I have a lunch scheduled with the regional administrator next week, and we'll be talking not only about that, but about other opportunities for federal funding as well. You can pick up the item if you want on the office, the meeting space, now or later in the meeting. Go ahead. So Patrick and I had the opportunity to meet with the county manager and county attorney on the issue of meeting space in Commission Chambers. It was a very positive meeting. They provided us with a draft agreement, which is in your packet. Essentially, it allows us to go back into the county commission chambers for our monthly meetings beginning March 1st. They have waived certain fees, but we will still be responsible for paying for a bailiff that they will arrange for. We just reimburse the county for the cost of that bailiff. We will not be able to access their computer system, but we will be able to use their their Wi-Fi, and we will be able to project our system onto their screen. So I think it's everything that we've had before. And again, that item is in your packet, the agreement, and we would entertain approval of that
agreement. Okay, let's do that now. You've all had a chance to look at that agreement, and the changes we made to it, and the county agreed to that. Do I hear a motion to accept it?
I'll make a motion that we accept the agreement.
Motion's been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second to accept the agreement with Nassau County. Any discussion?
I just had a question about it talks about the AV, and I understood we couldn't, plug into the system, but from the city's mix?
No,
Okay.
they're gonna give us, essentially either a Bluetooth device or a hardwire for a screen. For one of the screens. I don't know if it's all of them or one of them. But no audio, no network. So you need to be aware of that.
Talk loud.
That's, and, the mailer fee will be significantly less than what we're paying now because they have an existing contract and they're gonna order it, schedule it, we're just gonna reimburse.
Okay, and what are we paying here?
$120 for the meeting.
Okay, and the mailer fee would be,
No more than 50.
I'm a little worried about acoustics, because we've had that complaint from people in the public that you can't hear anything during the meetings, it's all garbled.
Yeah.
And unprofessional, frankly. So can we invest in some mics?
We can look at that. Yeah.
Anybody else interested in that?
We can, would you go down and look at the option, that option, of course? And whether or not we'll be able to use that there, I don't know. Okay. All right, any other comments?
So before we vote to accept this agreement, which is gonna change our meeting space, we're missing one of our commissioners tonight, right? And I think he did have some input at the last meeting as to preference. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to talk about preferences, where you want to meet. But I know that he expressed that it was good to have members of the public present. I know there are, the operator is probably coming from the port, employees come from the port. Do we want to discuss the preference as to meeting at the county or meeting here?
I just think it's a better space for us to meet. We don't have to arrange furniture. We don't, it costs less. We're getting everything we want, but the Wi-Fi.
Getting Wi-Fi, no network.
I mean, no network, yeah. Wi-Fi, but no network.
I will say, I think it is a better place, for specifically the residents. It's also better for us because we have them out in front of us. And we can see here, some of them are sitting behind us, they're sitting to the side of us. We need to make eye contact with the folks that come here and speak to us. Just as you've mentioned, I too appreciate them coming. It takes time out of their afternoon to come, and we are listening. But I think you also deserve a place that will accommodate people and not have them standing in the hallway, where they can come into the room with the rest of us and voice your opinion.
Do you know what the capacity is at the county? Yeah, it is bigger.
Yeah.
So personally, I don't need to sit on a dais, know that I'm a court commissioner, but I like the fact that individuals in the community have come here much more. And it could be just interesting points on the agenda, but I've appreciated the turnout here. So personally, I would be happy to stay here, but I'm just one.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor of accepting the agreement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Motion passes. We will be starting our first meeting in March. Do one more meeting here and then we'll go out there in March. Yeah. That's it. All right, bond reserve and the operating agreement update, nothing there. All right. All right, let's do the port operator report, Butch. You're up. Good evening.
Good evening, commissioners. First of all,
Vice Chairman Hill, I'd like to say, I apologize, I'm still in the same format on the tonnage report. But if we're right at the bump at the end of the month for close, so with a tight schedule, we'll get that buttoned up a little more appealing to the eye next time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, January, we had good numbers through the facility. We had 533 container, 4,372 container tons, and 615 TUs. There was 7,310 ton of KLB board that came through, 5,137 tons of lumber, 22,872 tons of wood pulp, and 63 miscellaneous cargo, for total tons of 35,382. We had 20 dockage days, and we had 7 ports of call in the month of January. Total amount of rail cars were 107, and trucks per day was 22. Questions on questions? I do have a small presentation prepared on, we kind of hit our 6-month mark here as the operator. And if there's enough time in the meeting, I know there was quite a bit of public comment, and I'm happy to present next time if you like, or we can roll with it tonight.
Do it now.
All right. So just wanted to give a community update here. On Savage, as most of you may well know or heard already, we've been in business for over 75 years. We're a family-owned company, and we're still privately held. Things that I'd like to point out to you today is our S7 delivery system, which we use to keep and find new customers. Our team member commitment to safety, health, and environment. Some of the tools that we use to keep our team members safe, and our commitment to being good stewards to the community. So we'll back one perhaps. They're on the, oh, I'm sorry, 1 forward. Okay. Nope. Oh, one back. That must be a hair trigger. So what you see there on the right is RS7. It's 7 components. The outside, it's kind of like a wheel, a wagon wheel, if you look at it. Safety, health, environment's out there kind of holding the entire wheel together. The spoke, team, asset management, maintenance, professionalism, and performance, and customer to the hub in the center. When we came in, Terry Bletner, some of you in this room have met him in previous meetings, our SHE director. We done a baseline, and of course, the terminal operator before was not doing S7, so they didn't know anything about it. So we just went in to say, okay, where are we at today? Because we know where we want to be tomorrow. We would way down there. You can see the gap that we've increased since we've done this probably mid-July, because we took over the terminal July 6th. We went from about 18% to about 60%. There's been a 30% increase in our S7 scores throughout all of our operations here. And by the end of 2023, we'll be over 90%. Our team has embraced the S7. They see the value of it, and they're practicing it on a daily basis. Next slide, please. Team member safety commitment. I am committed to achieving 0 incidents by working safely at all times, at all places. I will look for opportunities to praise safe behavior and always correct unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. This is something that our team members have memorized, just like I do. All of the operations that I've had in the past over the last 19 and a half years, I've required our team members to memorize that. And before they go to work in the morning, right after the school box meeting, we all recite it together, and then we go to work, get everybody's mind thinking about safety before we go out there.
The things we do out at that port's very dangerous. We lift heavy things and we gotta make sure our team members are safe. Since we've been its terminal, we've almost 7 months now, actually, we've had not one reportable injury. We've kept a solid record and will continue to do so. Our team members have a stop work obligation. So if they see something that's not safe, they're obligated to stop that. Everyone at that terminal has that right and obligation to do so. Hold on, please. This is our Chaps. It's kind of our Savage Eyes JHA. Savage Hazard Analysis and Prevention System. What it is, real simple. What am I about to do? This is what we do every morning before we go to work. What am I about to do? What could hurt me? What could kill me? And what am I going to do to prevent it? Now, we do this every morning, but if conditions change throughout the day, then it's time to apply Chaps. So maybe we've got a different truck coming for a different commodity that we haven't handled before. Maybe we come in on a sunny day and a Florida thunderstorm comes through and now everything's wet and became slippery. So now it's time to apply Chaps. Our teams use this on a daily basis throughout the day. I've spoken a little bit about our morning Chaps meeting. We get out every morning. This is our team down on the dock. We get down there, we discuss the hazards, what we're going to be doing that day, what we're going to do about them. We also talk about critical risks throughout the day. And on the next slide, you'll see critical risk management. This has just been rolled out throughout our entire organization. We have over 200 operations and 4,200 team members across North America and the Middle East. And our team in Fernandina are piloting this. So each operation goes through and identifies each one of those hazards, and then they do a Chaps on each one and discuss it and train for them to ensure that they know exactly what they're up against on a daily basis. We recently forklift certified and trained all of our team members. All of them are done. It's required by OSHA, and it helps us develop safe team members and safe practice. We also went through fall protection training with our team members. At times we're required to work at elevation. So everyone's been taught how to use it properly, how to inspect it before use, and what to do if it does not pass an inspection. And then our environmental stewardship. This is our updated copy of our stormwater protection permit. Where we're in compliance with all DEP regulations. They have endorsed our stormwater permit and our stormwater pollution protection plan. That's about it. Dave, as a follow-up, I took a note. I spoke with the dredging company today. They'll be in on the 17th. We got clear berth. They're going to do a quick sounding. We'll see what they got, and they're going to go right to work. Questions?
Well, I had a question for David, but I'll just ask it now to you, because I think that someone in the public said at last night's meeting that there was like a press release about the concrete before it came in, like a packet that was supposed to be shared with the community. Is that not accurate? Okay, there was something like a whole deck of information about the concrete.
So I presented our MOC, our procedures, our JHA, our Chaps. I think that pretty much.
Is that, what is that? Who gets that?
It was.
So in advance of the shift, Savage provided us with a material data sheet. that shows whether this is hazardous material or not, and proper procedures, as well as their safety plan for handling that material. Part of the master plan, we've asked for anytime that they're handling a hazardous material or something new that we've not seen before, to not only provide that, but also provide us with a transportation distribution plan, how they're going to handle that material. And that will be something that we'll be working with Savage on developing as we go forward. That would be shared with this commission in advance of the impact.
And it's
a coordination effort.
what we presented is in operating plan as a requirement for us to do so to bring in the product. So we was just fulfilling our requirements.
Okay, so would you say that, what resulted with the dust was foreseeable and appropriate or not?
Yes, so our team handled 10,460 bags and less than 1% had a puncture. I'm aware of 2 bags that did fall, that broke, but the rest, what happens, that material came from Turkey, across the ocean. It was a single hull vessel, so the ribs were exposed in that vessel. If you imagine huge I-beams. As this vessel goes across the ocean and the waves, the motion and the hull against those waves, that product settles down in tighter. And some of those bags were in contact and rubbing, so that's where the holes came from. Our team did everything that they possibly could to help mitigate that. And at times, there's public pictures out there, street sweepers trying to do the best that we can to pick everything up. That was not, that was not an expense that we had foreseen, but we went out and tried to do something. The big challenge with it is this is white cement, and we're operating on black asphalt and gray pavers. So even if it's clean and there's just a tiny amount of residue, it stains that area. And it looks like when you drop of oil in a gallon bucket, it just looks like it's everywhere. But our team done a bang up job. We had DEP on location 3 times. There was another call that came in yesterday that we addressed. All 3 times, there were no citations, there were no warnings. There was a couple of recommendations, which is Mr. Kaufman stated, we went above and beyond on every one.
Is there a way to handle this material without having it migrate in the manner that it did?
Yeah, there absolutely is. And I'll say, I won't say every port along the seaboard is handling cement stacks, but a fair portion, if not most, are. As mentioned before, this was a trial ship. The customer, they wanted to see our capabilities. We wanted to see if this was the right customer to do business with. The long-term plan, if it was ever going to go forward, would be silos and conveyed pneumatically. So it'd come off the ship pneumatically right into a silo with no transfer points, and then it would be loaded onto trucks or rail from there in the same fashion pneumatically.
Is there a way to wrap the bags inside the hull so that they don't come out with residue on the outside?
That would be beyond labor.
So what happened, Commissioner Hill, when I happened to be out there with DEP when they were doing their walkthrough, and we were on the pier as they were unloading and watching the operation, and one of the Savage's employees was standing alongside us, briefing the DEP on the process and how that operation works. And they made the suggestion there that, maybe they could beat on the bags a little bit to brush them off in the whole ship quick and have to remove as much of that residue as they can. And literally at that moment, the Savage employee got on the radio and told the guys to start doing that. So they were extremely thoughtful. There was no question, can we do it? Can we do it?
one thing that I did think about as we was going through the process here that was not recognized, when they fill those super sacks in Turkey or wherever else it comes from, you know, it's like a spout at the top, and they fill it. If there's anything that spills whatsoever, it's on top of that bag and then it's loaded into the vessel. I would request going forward from the customer that wherever the port of origin is, if they could simply just take a leaf blower and blow that off. We bagged tomato pumice up in North Carolina at our terminal up there. And that's just standard operating procedure for us to send out a nice clean bag for the end user. We just blow the residual off the top and load it on the top.
So is this continuing?
I can't answer that. I honestly don't know. We have not reconvened with customers since we unloaded. We've got a couple follow-up questions for them. I'm sure we'll all be gathering up within the next week or so. There's, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks cargo on the terminal right now. So that decision would be made before then.
There's some monitoring that you've done. Can you
Yes, sir.
explain that?
Yeah, so we had our SH&E professional out doing dust monitoring, both inside the port and outside the port. And so the way that works, they put monitors around, and those samples have been sent off for evaluation.
And what are the hazards of this material to people? Can you explain
It would
that?
depend completely upon exposure. If you're down in the pit all day long, 8 to 10 hours a day, you would definitely want to take good measures with PPE to ensure you could work stuff 10 hours a day, knee deep, if you've got a full face respirator on. If you're nuisance dust, if it's bothering you, an N95 is what our team members are wearing. It's product that our homes are built on, our roads are paved with. It's used every day in this community and others.
There was some talk whether if it got on your skin and got wet, it could damage your skin. Do you know anything about that?
Long-term exposure, it probably would. I'd wash it off, and if I felt a little dry, put some lotion on. I poured tens of thousands of yards of concrete working my way through school, and yeah, I had to use some lotion. But...
All right. Any other questions about that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any questions. I just want to say that, you know, if people are walking down the street that they've walked down for the last 20 years and there aren't plumes of cement dust. And then now there are, and this is where people's homes are. This is where, and it's not a unpopulated area. Like if you look at Port of Savannah, other ports, there's a lot of land around. And so, you know, in the interest of being a good neighbor, this type of product has an impact on the neighbors. So I'm not hearing a plan that doesn't involve continued nuisance of the same order of magnitude. I'm not even hearing like, I'm sorry, anything.
Well, then I appreciate that. Once again, this is a trial shipment. So I think the first business in order is to see if there would ever be a second, because if there's not, then it's a moot point. I will state that I think our office is probably as close to the front line than any place on the island. We have cement bags, 2 sides around ours, the north and the west side. We're awaiting windows that have been ordered. That have been neglected for many years, and quite honestly, the house leaks like a sieve. You can walk in there right now and wipe your hand across the desk, and there's no residual powder. So we're not seeing it. Maybe the wind just wasn't right for us.
You were talking about plumes.
I mean, I saw the videos. So.
Well,
that was on.
I don't know what you mean by plumes, but that, you know, that's like a big bonfire with plumes of smoke coming up. That's not what I've seen. There's been dust in the air, sure. it's blown out, but, not a lot. I don't.
Well, I just would beg to differ after seeing videos and pictures. I also don't believe that the citizens of the community have nothing better to do tonight than to make up a story. I'm sorry, but
I
that's
didn't
just,
say
it's
they were making up any
ludicrous.
story, I'm arguing with your word claims.
Okay.
Okay. There has also been some talks, and I know there's nothing settled on this about fertilizer coming in.
That would be so far down the road that some residents and may not be here. Fertilizer, if fertilizer was brought on this island, the two examples that was given tonight was ammonium nitrate that blew up the ship and blew up the plant overseas. This is not ammonium nitrate. There's a complete and distinct difference. If fertilizer came to this island, it would be urea, and it is not like ammonium nitrate. To get the explosive nature of that, you have to add diesel fuel. And at that point, then you have something that was just an accelerant at that point. The urea is used to fertilize crops, and our customer has end user customers that use it to melt down and make resin for glue. The glue fiber together. That's two uses for the fertilizers. And once again, there's nothing scheduled.
Okay, I appreciate you clearing some of that stuff up, and I hope that's answered some questions. I know some people are not gonna be satisfied with the answers, but, you know, that's all we can do. All right. Let's move on. Anything about the master plan?
No, we've already mentioned that. So having comments from the commissioners,
Yeah, I want to say that, we will approve this master plan, hopefully next meeting. That's what's on the schedule. If you have any comments about it, anything you want to see taken in or taken out, please send them to David, and we'll talk about it again the next meeting, and then hopefully we can vote to accept this master plan. Been a lot of hard work put into it. Dustin's here. If you have any questions of him now, please ask, and I'm sure he can. And you were all given the master plan in the booklet. Please look through that. There's a lot of pages, but there's a lot of information in there. If we hadn't put it in there, they'd be asking about it later. I guarantee you, because that's what happened last time.
Sure, so my request would be that the executive summary summarize what's in the report, just at a high level, like, you know, more like a table of contents, like these are the main points, these are the findings, because it's just a lot to get through. I also was just, generally speaking, it's like 200 and, 300 pages, I don't know, 200, it's not numbered. But all of these exhibits, some of them are over 10 years old, and studies that have been done for other, you know, I just wasn't sure, you know, how those pertain to what we're doing.
Well, often they're the most recent version of that particular study. For instance, there was a rail study done for this area, Northeast Florida in 2011. That's the most recent version of that study. So that's what was put in there. We coordinated with the city to get their most recent land use maps, which are 2011. I reached out to them because there was notice of potentially some maps done in 2021 that were updated. I reached out to the city and no one could provide updated maps. The most recent ones are in there.
Okay, so these materials would not otherwise be available if we reference them in like an appendix?
I guess I'm not sure what you're asking.
So why wouldn't we just reference like the future rail corridor study that was done for, I
It is
think,
a thing.
but couldn't it just be referenced? Is it not publicly available somewhere else?
Oh, if you did, yeah, we can just put a link and,
We were just trying to make it easier for the.
yeah.
No, and I appreciate for our purposes of looking at it, but it just seems like for publishing it on our website, we're gonna have like 300 and some pages, and if we could just like, reference the link, if it is publicly
I
available.
don't know, that's a good question. I don't know if that is publicly available, but if there are reports publicly available,
Okay,
drop the report.
Well, we wanted it in the report. People look at the index and they see something about it there, they can go right to it.
I mean, a lot of people, you put a link in there and I say, well, but
Yeah.
so it's.
only because it just makes it so big, and it'll be on our website as a PDF, so it's when they download it, it's gonna take that much longer, just.
Frankly, think it should stay in there.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm open to listening to
okay.
the thoughts on that, but we're happy to do whatever you guys want.
All right, anything else?
And then I wanted to talk about cruises. Does anybody else want to talk about cruises? So we're not gonna vote on this, because it's not on the agenda, but we do have discussion about the master plan on the agenda. And I just wanted to hear thoughts from the other commissioners about cruising and, maybe some feedback on what others in the community said tonight. Any of the other commissioners have thoughts about cruising?
I think I've made myself clear at the last meeting. I too, think that cruise ships bring chaos and dysfunction to the port when they come in. And the reason I say that is I experienced it firsthand as being the terminal manager at the Port of Fernandina. So I am not a fan of cruise ships. That is a cargo terminal. It's not a passenger terminal. And it should be maintained and operated as such. I think that's just about as clear as I can make that.
I'm not a big fan of the cruise ships. However, it's income for the Port Authority, and until we can find some alternative option or some agreement with the operator to do something else, then I don't know what else to do. We need that income. That's my thing.
I'd like to add one other thing. I've been out there pretty much every other day during the cement vessel. And as I stated before, I want to see full-time jobs come to the Port of Fernandina, because that's what benefits the county and that's what benefits the citizens. And I was in a conversation with one of the managers and was given a total of 5 more full-time jobs are in the pipe to be added to the port because of cargo vessels. Okay, so it's working. We bring these cargo vessels here and we bring full-time paying jobs here. That's jobs that these people can perform. They're going to be paid well. They got good benefits. I say that because I experienced it. So that's what we as a port authority should be pushing for. Good paying, solid, long-term jobs. Outside of that, we're wasting our time.
We're obligated to the 2 cruise ships that are coming in. And once we're done with those, then that's when we need to say our yes or no.
But for the purposes of the master plan,
Well, this is just addressed, it's a what if, so.
Because it's in the master plan, don't mean we're gonna do it.
Right.
It's a plan. It's a option.
okay, so my comment is just 500 passengers is 10 times the people that came out tonight. It's a lot of people for downtown Fernandina. And I haven't heard anything positive about it. So Yeah, I'm just waiting to hear something positive about cruising other than revenue to OPA. And it doesn't sound like it's positive from port operations perspective. So I don't even think we've resolved the underlying, land issue, right, with the reverter to West Rock.
Yeah, what? Yeah. Yeah, as well.
In writing?
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay.
We took it out.
So, as long as they're on the docks, it's not an issue because they're not on the main parcel.
What's
It's an
the,
issue.
well, there's a couple of issues. So one, it speaks to a terminal, which that isn't. And the other, it only speaks to the portion of property that they convey to OPA, which is across the railroad track.
Okay, so what's in the master plan, we know would not be an issue?
I don't know that. First of all, the master plan is not final and I haven't taken a dive into that, but the previous conversation with West Rock resolved those two issues.
They're okay with it. Okay, anything else? Anyone else? Let's move on to new business.
So do we have an opportunity to make changes to the plan before we vote on it
I just said that. I said,
on a one-off
Any-
basis?
any comments you have or any changes you want to make, get them to David. And we'll discuss them at the next meeting. And if you want to bring up an amendment or something, you're welcome to do that. But yes, we will have another chance.
So will our next meeting be too late to add any
No.
changes at that time?
So I would suggest that if you have a suggested change, to provide it to Justin, the red line document with the suggestion, and then the commission can vote at the next meeting, then we can accept those amendments.
Yeah, so I'm prepared to make a motion that we remove cruises from this.
I'm
I
not
know
gonna accept any motion about it tonight. I'm sorry.
we're not voting on it tonight.
We're not gonna accept
But we
any
can
motion to
discuss it.
change the plan tonight. We're gonna wait another 2 weeks. Anything you wanna do, you get to David. We'll redline it in the agreement, like you just said. We'll come back next meeting and we'll talk about it and vote against it or vote for it.
Thank you, Chairman. But we are allowed to discuss it and not vote on it, correct? Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Where and when will you be in?
Excuse me, you're out of order. No, I'm not out of order. Who said that?
You are rude and condescending to Commissioner.
And you are too.
No, sir, I'm not.
Well, if you don't like what we're saying, there's the door. Sorry.
Saying maybe we should have a
All right.
mutual respect.
Would you?
I walk myself out. You are strict when you were my teacher. And you're strict as
I know that. I know who you are. And you were that way in school.
Thanks, Al.
Good.
My wife. How he treated Commissioner Hill. My wife literally said appalling. Brutal.
I don't think I'm treating her rude.
When my wife said appalled
We have
at how you treated her, you got
we have a
the
very
room.
strong opinion about you.
All right, we're gonna move on here. All right, the next, any new business?
One person says you're messed up and you are, when a friend says you are, you probably are.
Nothing on the new business?
Chairman, could we just take a recess until we can get order to the meeting?
I don't think we're going into committee reports. Last thing on the agenda. Why do we need a recess?
Okay,
Why, yes. All right, committee reports. Port security, Commissioner Nelson.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we, back a few weeks ago, we did have some issues at the port with security and some of the questions that needed to be answered between the current operator and security. We got those dealt with, and I was out there today and have been out there during the vessel ops, and these issues have taken care of themselves. They've gone away. So security is where it needs to be, and everyone is functioning as the general orders and post orders demand.
Nothing to tell you about FDOT. Our next meeting has not been scheduled. Customs House, Commissioner Nelson.
Customs House right now, as far as anything above and beyond the IT upgrade that they're expecting. Last conversation I had with Port Director Parrott, or CBP, was that they are waiting on the government side to get their equipment and supply it. Then we can proceed with that. But there was no other issues with the facility reported to me from Port Director Parrott. Do you want me to go on into the maintenance?
Yes.
And everything? Okay. As far as container crane number 9, they have replaced the card in the computer system. I was advised it did take care of some of the issues they were having with control, but it didn't take care of all of them. I was assured it's still a work in progress, and they are seeking some help from other technicians to get that straightened out. I have no doubt with the guys that are working on that, the men that are working on that, that it'll be rectified in the very near future. On container crane number 10, everything on that crane is functioning. That's the one they're using to work the Summers Isle. There is one issue that they are experiencing with the operator crane that takes them into the apex and to the machine house. So they have out of service that elevator until they can pinpoint the problem and rectify that so that there's nobody put in jeopardy or anybody's safety is compromised. So they're continuing to work on that. As far as the 622 truck, which is the one that was involved in the rollover, it's all ready to go. Kenworth of Jacksonville has released it. They're just waiting on a truck transport to bring it back to the terminal. So it should be arriving there any day now. 624, which had a transmission issue, has been fully repaired and is back in service. I talked to the operator and he's glad to have it back, and he's operating that truck. The Leave Air Mobile Harbor Crane, which is the big blue one that sits on the dock, the crane is in good shape, no issues with that. So they're watching that one. All the systems are go, and I do periodic startups on it. Even though they may not use it for cargo op, they are still running that crane to make sure that it's running. The rail dock where the storm damage took place, I understand they've got a couple contractors that are producing some estimates, but they're still waiting on a third one. So that's in process right now. So as soon as they can get the 3 in, then it'll go to Mr. Gilbert for his review. But the team out there is taking care of the equipment. I was out there today and spent some time with them. It's a good sign and a good sight when you look at this equipment, and it's in good shape and get taken care of. Any questions on the equipment?
So are they climbing the stairs to the crane while the elevator's out?
Yes, ma'am.
How many flights is that?
Long way. I'll tell you, it's a long way, but yes. But they're working on that, and their process of pulling it out of service and tagging it, rather than taking a chance of somebody being injured. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Army Corps of Engineers, nothing to report. They're still working on the permitting for the maintenance dredging. Well, we actually started in May. It started in May, right? They will start in May. All right, Economic Development, Commissioner Cockle.
Yes, I met with Sherry Mitchell, and we met with Rita Weiss. She's with Enterprise Florida. We gave her a tour of the port and the West Rock are all the facilities here in Fernandina, and to help her capture what we really are here. We've got a date coming up where we're going to go out to the Crawford Diamond and let her view that as well. And with their, input, maybe we can bring more businesses here, but this is nice for her to be able to understand what's going on and she talk that group about coming here. All right. Emergency management, nothing to report. Commissioner Taylor's not here, so no report on PCC. TPO, in past meetings, we've talked about, or it was brought up, you know, are we getting our share and whatever. I compiled some reports from the TPO. They're working with me to give us a report of what is going on right now. I mentioned to you that they are going to repave the road from Nassauville up to the bridges, and in the long run, they're looking at widening that portion of the road and the bridge. That's well in the future, but I'll give you all the date on it and when that's coming about. Went back and looked at, there's been about 6-7 different studies that they've done, corridor studies, bicycle and pedestrian studies, feasibility studies for the Pages Dairy extension, Amelia Island Trail usage, State Road 200 ITS study, fuel studies, transit studies, and the Port of Fernandina traffic studies. All of these were done from 2015, 2017, 2019, and well over $1 million. So we are getting our share of the stuff here. We are getting our we're being noticed, put it that way. Okay. Nassau Chamber, Commissioner.
Sure, I've talked with Regina Duncan about providing support to the final master plan document. And the feedback that I've received from her and from other members of the chamber is that they would support something that the downtown shops would support. And given just a lot of the controversy as of late, that they are waiting to see what our response would be to provide that support. Also, David's restaurant was bought by the chef, and so they have their ribbon cutting on Monday. So David's is a fabulous local place. My dad was a chef, so I always appreciate when a restaurant's run by the chef. So I was happy to see that. Very close.
All right. Any questions for any committee? All right, administrative office manager's report.
Work for City of Fernandina Beach.
We just did with them.
Yeah.
Nassau Chamber, I'm sorry. Yeah, city. We already talked about the city and met with them yesterday to present our master plan. That's all. All right, administrative office manager report.
My report is in the packet, and unless there are any questions, I would like to confirm our next meeting is it February 22nd.
Correct. Here.
Yeah.
One here.
And that's for the master plan, right?
Yes. Okay.
Also, too, I just want to remind the board that come the end of this month, we have to vacate the tax collector's office. And I have no.
Yeah, so to that end, Mr. Chairman, we're gonna need probably to look at hiring some moving capability to this new house. I'll get with Roseanne and see if we can meet with the tax collector on site to see. I know we have some storage there outside of the office space. We have some other files that we might be able to temporarily move stuff to. But still working with the city and see if we can come to an agreement or get a timeline and like things the city might have for it. But in the end, we may have to hire someone else to move those files. I'm not sure what our purchasing requirements are, if that's something that between Roseanne and I, we can get a couple of quotes from some moving companies, or whether that has to come back before the commission at the next meeting. Approval to do that or not. Well, if it does, we'll have to. Set up committee to-
Filing cabinets or just files?
Yeah, there's file cabinets and boxes and a little bit of furniture.
Okay.
It's not a lot, but it's more than Rosanna and I got.
I can volunteer if it's just files, but if it's cabinet, then
Yeah, any other items to be brought up, Commissioner?
You skip community outreach.
I thought you wanted to take that off.
Well, it's still out there. So, I mean, I just wanted to add, since the city of, we both attended the city meeting. And I did say and speak with several members of the community who are also here tonight. And I would just say that, you know, for those of you that didn't attend the meeting or didn't watch it, that there was many people who turned out to talk about the port. As there were, you know, the other hot ticket item on the agenda was the Trim Valley property, which is very contentious. A lot of people are really concerned with what we do with our master plan. So, I mean, I think we need to take what was said tonight very seriously and how we adopt this master plan and what we put in here. Because again, this is just a plan. We don't list every type of business that comes into the port. This is what we're going to focus on. We are elected to represent the community. We're elected by the community, right? By the citizens. And so when we make decisions as a board as to what we're going to focus on, it should be informed by what the community wants on a countywide basis. On a countywide basis, what are the timber businesses on the west side going to say about what we adopt? What are the truckers going to say? What are employers going to say about what we adopt? So thinking about the residents in Bernardino Beach, but also thinking about the whole county. And can we in good faith say that what we are choosing to do is truly for the best interests of the county and for the state when we make decisions that really just help us meet our operational goals? I'll just ask you to take that to heart before we vote.
Okay. You got it. Another comment? Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.